Okay, I've been given a challenge. I've done a lot of different videos on accessibility and how to get your courses accessible, but I now have one of the worst classes that we've got around here, and I'm going to try to get this accessible to at least 85% in 20 minutes. So, let's start. Now, so we're looking at this. We're at 64%. There's a whole bunch of content that we need. But before I go through and start looking at what the low scoring content is, which we can do and go, okay, what's this? What's this? I don't know. What's this? What's this? What's this? What I'm going to suggest is let's go delete the junk in this course. So the first thing we're going to do, and I did this in advance, it does take a hot minute, is sometimes there's duplicates of stuff in the course, and you can't figure out what's actually being used and what's not, because Canvas is a pack rat, and it still shows all the pages and shows all the documents. So what I've gone and done is I've gone and I've unpublished everything that I'm actually using in this course. So that means when we go to our pages, what we're going to see is we're going to see all the documents, if we go to view all pages, all the documents that we're using will actually be blacked out. And anything that actually shows that it's being used is the stuff we don't need. We aren't even using those pages, yet they're affecting our accessibility. So let's go through and click on all of these different things, copies and copies and copies and copies and copies of pages people created and never actually turned up using, and let's just delete those. So we've got that. We've got e-text in here a couple times, and quite frankly, a Proctorio test, a guide to the APA font style that I guarantee you is old. I know it says 2024, that's just when it was actually copied over. The Haiku Deck lecture, that's something that got pulled in from Barbara Monahan when she put things together. For all of you who go, why do we still have Barbara Monahan's old proctored exam? We haven't had that in years. More and more proctoring stuff. Proctorio, we're not using that. So again, we're just deleting the things. Again, this is everything that's got a green thing right there, because that's stuff that I know, because it's got a green, that we're not actually even using. So we've got, that just looks a little strange to me, so I'm going to leave it just because I have a feeling something might be going on there. And we've got the PowerPoint lectures. Now we don't have these PowerPoint lectures anymore, because what they've now done is they're putting them in separately. So we've got a good bunch of stuff right there that we're just going to delete. So I've got all that stuff that I know wasn't being used, 48 pages, and we're going to delete those. So this might take a second in order to get through all of those, but we're in a little bit better shape. So we've just deleted, again, so far, empty pages that weren't being used. Let's take a look at the accessibility report. Oh, and actually it went down. Why? Because we actually deleted stuff that was empty, so it actually started looking a little bit better, but at least we got rid of some stuff. So now let's go over to Files and see what we want to get rid of. If we go up here and we click on the course, you can see all of the things that are in the course. So what we have here is blueprint information. These are syllabi from 2019. We've got stuff from 08. That means that is a trifold builder. So we're starting to look at these things that are from 2019. We don't need any of that stuff. So I'm going to sit there and say, let's get rid of all of that stuff that we know we don't need from 2019. I'm going to move myself a little bit here so we get out of the way. Berkeley logo, I always think that's great. Canvas tour, this is not even working anymore. So we want to get rid of those. Course tile image, we'll leave for now, but we'll get rid of later. And then we start looking at these different rubrics. So we've got discussion board grading rubrics in here a number of different times, but the rubrics are already embedded into the course. We do not need to have a document that is ruining our accessibility when the students can just actually look on something and grade it. If we start looking at Human Relations 2020 Spring, what all of these are is old syllabi. So let's get rid of all of these old syllabi that we don't need, possibly from people who we don't even need anymore. Now, every so often while I am selecting things, I do recommend go up and delete them, because sometimes they just undelete themselves. So right now, again, all we're doing is just going through and seeing stuff that we know we don't need anymore. Proctorio guidelines, I probably created those, so we can delete those. If we start looking at these different chapters, I can tell you all of these were uploaded in 2020 at the earliest, so all of those are from an old textbook. We do not need old textbook PowerPoints anymore. So we need to update those anyway. You should be updating each one of those. So when we start looking at those, I'm going to leave them for now just so you can upload them correctly. But realize all of those are our old PowerPoints from a previous version of the text that you don't need anymore. Sample transcript for a navigation video. Again, I know you don't need that. Scavenger hunt sounds fun. We'll leave that in there. Now, if we start looking at these different announcements and these week introductions, I took a look in the course, and what that is it has all of the announcement written out, and then at the bottom it actually includes a link to the PDF of the announcement, which, by the way, makes it unaccessible. So let's get rid of all of those additional announcements and introductions, because all that's doing is putting in more content that your readers can't actually read, and in many cases can't even access. So we're looking at those introductions and announcements, and we are going to get rid of those. So again, we're just getting rid of content that you're not using anyway. Just take a minute while I kind of go down. And here we actually start getting into when those announcements are super inaccessible and causing additional problems. Now again, this is where I say it starts getting a little twitchy because I got 32 items selected. So I'm going to run up here, I'm going to delete those, and then I'm going to go back down. Now I see a lot of those presentations are, again, those PowerPoints are a problem. But I do want to get rid of these introductions first. Again, we'll dump them. Let's see if we can go down here a little bit more. And now here, look, we've got syllabi from 2020. Syllabi, 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 syllabi. I don't know about Danielle's thing, so we're going to leave those right there. But in all likelihood, if you are not Sonnenberg, you're probably going to want to delete some of those files labeled Sonnenberg at some point. So again, we've got, okay, so we've got a bunch of those welcomes down, and we're down to, here we've got a template, an import from a previous class. Import from a previous class. And again, you want to get rid of those. Sometimes it's literally just copying in documents from previous terms. We don't need those. We'll now go into uploaded media, and we've got in uploaded media, we've got accessing Proctorio reports and old syllabi. Uploaded media 2 has a master syllabus from 2022. So you're going to go back up here to the blueprint, and we now know we want to get rid of those two folders because they don't have anything useful in them. So we select this and we select this, and we can go delete those two folders. So again, this has just been a lot of deleting things. Now, when we actually go into our modules, this is where I'm going to say you do want to upload. You don't want to get rid of, and in this case, we want to make sure that you're sitting there saying, you know what, I really do want, and this is the PowerPoint that seems to be coming back up. I was glad I kept that one. In this case, we don't want that old PowerPoint. So just go in here, and you can, so that you don't lose yourself, click here, and we're going to go to add a file, create file, then we're going to choose from, excuse me, I'm going to find this, and we're going to go and we're going to find the uploaded file. So I'm going to pause here because I've just lost it and I'm going to find that. Sorry, I'm back. So what I've done is I just had to figure out where that was. So I've now got the Reese and Reese PowerPoints, and we remove it. But here's the problem when we remove these old ones. What we're actually removing is we are removing, oh, there we go, sorry. We're removing it from the presentation. In this case, I can tell the difference because all the lowercase ones are the correct ones. So now we just want to go through and replace these. This is something you'd want to be doing anyway, of replacing them with the actual corrected files. So this, while it may take a little time, is actually making sure that your course is updated correctly. So in this case, we can see that the bad one is definitely the one that's in capital letters. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to add in all the corrected files. Reese and Reese. Number 3. Reese and Reese chapter 4. So again, this was something that you probably should be doing when you're updating your course anyway. If you don't know where to find the files, I recommend, especially a course like this, work together so that you could all get those files updated. Now what this is this is updating again those good files here. I'm just going through because I don't know the course, but it's chapter 5 is chapter 5, chapter 6 is chapter 6, chapter 7 is chapter 7. Okay, this is a pretty easy course. I don't even need to do this right now. I can see each week it's the different chapter that, oh wait, we've got this one that's a little bit different. So chapter 15 is here. Sorry, open, add item. So in this case, I will remove that. But I can see that in all other weeks, I'm just going to have to go back. 13 is 13, 14 is chapter 12, so let's add that one, since it's a little bit different. Chapter 12. I don't need you guys to watch me do all of this, though, which is why I'm doing this quickly. But I did promise I would show you I could get this all done. In this case, we have no chapters to do. Now that we've seen that, we can go back here to Files, and I can delete all of those. In this particular case, we're not even using all of the files that were in there. So we're not even using those Reese and Reese PowerPoints. And yet they were causing problems as far as affecting your accessibility. So there's whole chapters that weren't being used. So we now go back down here, and we can see any Reese and Reese that's in capitals is those files we want to delete. That's the correct one. And again, I'm going to dump these up. Make sure I'm not getting rid of anything that you're actually going to need. Oh, come on. Fortunately, I can't seem to find a place on the screen to put my head where it's not going to get in the way. So again, we've got a couple more of these Reese and Reese ones that we want to get rid of. So all we've done now is delete stuff that honestly we shouldn't have in the course anyway. You're going to have to go put some of those back in there. But let's see how far we've got so far. Again, just deleting and not doing anything with having to learn accessibility. This is just deleting things that we don't want. Now we're at 60%, so we've gone down even more. So now let's start to figure out what exactly is still bringing these up. And we've got all of these images. So these images are causing a lot of the problems. And if we look at those images missing a description, these are honestly things that you should never even have in here. Just take a quick look at these. These are all images way back from when the OFST was around, and somehow they dumped all of this junk into your course. So we got to go in and find those images to delete them. And I think we found it. It's right here, the OFST headquarters. Okay, so let's go back here and see if we can get rid of these courses. This is a really old course. Okay, so we want to get rid of this external files. So external files is what's causing all of these problems. We click on that. Oops, I didn't want to click on it. I want to delete the whole thing. So this is where it kind of gets a little bit tough. That sometimes you're trying to figure out where all the junk is, you can't find it. But this is why I wanted to take on this course, because I wanted to see where this big mess was coming from. And that only took out 1%. Let's give it a minute to actually remove all of these, because sometimes it takes a minute. Nope, it's still showing up, so we got to go back and figure out where they went again. Pause for just a Okay, I admit it. For those of you who are actually looking at the clock, which, oh, I conveniently pushed out of the way, that took me a little longer than 20 minutes, so this did take me longer, but I did only have you guys in there for 20 minutes. The answer is, in this particular case, there was a file that was buried really deep, and this is actually a good example of when you need to reach out for help. All of that stuff that you could have cleaned up, I know every single one of you could have done that. And to find that particularly persistent file, that's when I recommend you go and ask an expert. That's so when we're talking about it, most of the stuff we can do. So I removed that literal 2 pages, and we went, just so you guys are up at 92%. So we are in absolutely great shape now. And again, the reason why I really want to point this out, even though I didn't hit my 20 minutes and therefore I failed, it did bring up the important thing that just one bad document can just destroy a class. And in this case, it had lots of just little images that I had to get rid of and hide. Now we are left with 3 things which have low scoring content. In this case, we've got a discussion board and a couple announcements. So let's just go through what we need to do here. So what's the issue with this discussion board? It's doing this. Oh, that one is actually one that I fixed. It had some hidden little documents in there. But we've actually fixed that one. It's just taking a little time to pop out of there. In this case, it's another one. 26. Oh, here we go. But this is so easy to fix. So we have insufficient contrast. I know someone was trying to make it bright and bold, but the answer is you need to use a color that's got a little bit more of a contrast. So we're going to select this. It's going to apply. Nope. Sorry, I want to click this apply to all 11 occurrences. Click this darker color rather than the bright orange. I know it doesn't pop quite as much, but now look at what we've got. And then we have here where it says this is linking to something you don't want. So this is a dead link. Let's just remove that. Let's pull that out of here. So all of a sudden we've got perfect. How easy was that? That's the way it helps. Now as you do see, it's still there for a minute. So we got to give a little bit of time in order to update that score. Here, another same thing. Why don't we click apply to all 9 occurrences? Click on that, apply, and all of a sudden we still have that nice little purple, but not the pop. Now this is actually linking to an old course, which is what's happening here. So again, we're going to remove that link. Putting a link that doesn't work doesn't help anybody. So we've now got those. They've been updated. I think the week 10 announcement's the one I just did. Yep, so we're in good shape. This one's still persisting a little bit. We'll give it some time to actually pull out. So we are now at 92%, and we know some of that low scoring content was already fixed. Now, this is where you've got to actually put some work into it. We've got this guide to APA format and style, and we see that, what does this have? It has images without a description. It's not generating the preview, so there might actually be a broken link there too. This PowerPoint presentation, this is where you're going to probably have to put some work into it. You'll have to download that presentation, and it has, again, images without a description. In this case, you're going to have to describe that in detail. Just describing that, and I'll leave that for you guys, is going to start making a big change. So again, we're now at a much easier way to look through things. And this is just going through a few PowerPoint presentations and updating them. But no matter what, we did get your course up from 62 to a 92, which is pretty good, even though I had that little glitch. But in these cases, this is all stuff that you can improve. Again, use Ally to tell you exactly what you need to fix, and then you can keep dragging and dropping and popping it in there, and you're going to see your classes, bada bing, bada boom, are popping up to everything. I hope this was helpful. I do want to guide you to my YouTube channel. It's LV Harsty, and it's going to help you with all the different accessibility issues. Thank you, and have a great day.